This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Rachel Fife.
Well, welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Now, if you're a business owner and in search of identity governance automation or IGA solution, well, that resource is really closer than you think. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing your good neighbor, Garrett Grayjack with YouAtTest. Garrett, how is it going?
Fantastic, Rachel. Thank you. And great to be here.
Well, we're really excited to learn about your business. So tell us about your company.
Great. That's always an easy one, right? Well, ready to talk about that. YouAtTest. YouAtTest is a formation of myself. I've been in the identity cyberspace for almost 30 years now. Done things like worked at places like IBM and Cisco. And then I started my own authentication company, a company that's still in Irvine called SecureAuth. And then another local company worked for and created AI for Silence, which I got bought by BlackBerry. Okay. Now, from there, I was pulled back into the identity world on the risk and compliance side. Let's talk risk and compliance. Risk and compliance says, do you understand the risk that your enterprise is against? And that's not only a coffee or a beer conversation, but that's a legal concept that says, yes, I do. And I have, in my case, attested to all the users who have access to the sensitive data. And we can go into what that is, but that's what YouAtTest is. It's a simple automated resource that allows enterprises or MSPs to automate the process of attesting who they've given access to.
How did you get into this business?
You know, it's interesting. I had friends when I built a company called SecureAuth, which was all two-factor authentication. I left to build AI over at Silence, and then a bunch of my SEs went over to a wonderful company called Okta, and they were there, and they're like, Garrett, there's something missing in this space. What's missing is a tool that does this easy and rapidly, and that's what we built.
Wonderful. Well, what do you think are some myths or misconceptions in your industry?
The misconceptions they're going to get a little wonky for a second. What really has changed in the last 5-10 years is cyber was taken over by, good people, good way, really intelligent cyber people who understand, how hacking is done and have all really powerful tools, everything from the SIMs that were the advanced SIMs like that I worked over at Silence and Sentinel-1 and CrowdStrike. Those all became very developed. What has always been done though before 10 years is that, risk and compliance, we outsource that to a large SI, a system integrator, PwC and Accenture, et cetera. More and more enterprises are taking on that task because one, cost, and then two, they want to be closer to the actual risk. And so risk officers have taken over this task. And that's what YouAtTest is there for. It's to help them. And then the next big change, which has been the last 5 years, is that a lot of IT itself has been pushed off to what's called managed service provider, MSPs. And so these MSPs now need the tools like YouAtTest to do the work that these enterprises need. And so we at YouAtTest adapted to that and created a whole MSP platform for them to work off of.
Wonderful. Well, now we know marketing is really at the heart of every business. So how are you attracting your customers?
It's funny because we talked just a little before. I've been running my own podcast called Audit Tuesday, which is on Tuesdays. And I bring in industry experts and we talk about both the cyber, which is often attacks. Love talking about them. I'm always up to date on those, et cetera. There's a big one just revealed like 3 days ago where it's the F5, one of the biggest network providers, has revealed that it had attackers and hackers inside its enterprise for since 2023, and taking source code and discovering bugs. So that's like something that we do a webinar on. But I also do it on the changes in the industry. Like California, we're in, just passed the first AI transparency law. And if you don't understand that, it's because most people don't. It's called CASB 53. And it basically is the first law in America that resembles what the EU has. They have GDPR. We have now AI 53, which basically says enterprises need to quantify and reveal the security and the governance practice. So we do a lot of those webinars, do the reach outs, and then have traditional calling and emailing and LinkedIn services.
Wonderful. Well, what do you like to, outside of work, what do you like to do for fun, Garrett?
Well, I'm an Orange County guy, so I definitely spend my time on boats of mine that I used to have down in Dana Harbor, and then my buddies up in Huntington Harbor. But more relevantly, a lot of mountain biking for myself, and a lot of driving around the daughter and her friends for volleyball, high school volleyball.
Wonderful. Well, Garrett, please tell our listeners one thing they should remember about YouAtTest.
One thing is up to 80%, depending what you're reading. That's the Verizon Data Incident Report, which is basically the Bible of hacking. They come up with a survey every year. They say every year, right now, they're saying identity attacks are somewhere in the 70, 80% of your problems. So we have, in the world, have gotten less and less away from networks. A lot of enterprises, get pretty large and never have a network. The Silence really wasn't a network company. Everything was in the cloud. That's the comment. Well, what's your main feature then in the cloud? It's your identity and identity security. And if you're not reviewing your identities in a methodical, regular, and repeated basis, the hackers will win. And that's what happened to F5. Not picking on them. One of their biggest competitors, Juniper, the same thing happened to them 2 years ago. Hackers were living inside the system and stealing source code. And people are blaming the Chinese currently. Fine, but it's someone's taken the source code, taken in there, and go there. So if you're not regularly reviewing your users, the same way you do strong passwords, the same way you do two-factor, you're not doing the whole job.
How can our listeners learn more about YouAtTest?
Just look me up on LinkedIn, Garrett Grajek, and there's only one of them out there, so it's all easy. Or just write us at info@youattest.com. Info@youattest.com. I will get that, and we can start chatting.
Wonderful. Well, Garrett, gosh, I really appreciate you being on the show, and we wish you and your business really all the best moving forward.
Fantastic. Great to be on it. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnporangecounty.com. That's gnporangecounty.com. Or call 714-941-8862.
Well, Garrett, you did great.